I've also seen some people throw out that he might potentially wind up at DeQuoin. I think that's how you say that school's name, because that's where Drew Joyce, LeBron's friend, is currently at coaching. So I'm sure by this point in time, most of you have probably heard the news by now. If not, your boy Matt will inform you. Bronny James, he has officially entered the transfer portal. And my immediate reaction to this is I'm somewhat shocked because remember, what was the whole point of Bronny James going to USC in the first place? He was going to be closer to LeBron in LA and they were going to stay in California. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but a main reason LeBron even wanted to go to LA in the first place is because he likes it there and he wants his family to be out there. And I'm not saying basketball didn't play any part in it whatsoever, but LeBron wanted his son to go to a school that was close to the Lakers and also a school that was really prestigious like Sierra Canyon that was going to prepare him for the next level, and which it did. Fast forward time a little bit, Bronny James, he announces where he's going to play his college ball at, and no surprise to anyone whatsoever, he announces he's going to USC. Makes total sense because he's still going to be close to LeBron and his family. Well, now with Bronny entering the portal, unless I'm missing something here, the chances of him staying or remaining in the state of California are about slim to none. He's going elsewhere. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's the shocking part to me. Not that it didn't work out at USC from a basketball standpoint, but the fact that Bronny is going to be leaving the state of California. And as soon as I found out he entered the portal, some of the schools that immediately popped into my mind were schools like Ohio State and Duke. And those are relatively simple to explain and break down because if you've kept up with Bronny to the slightest, you know he's been a big-time Duke fan, and also Ohio State, well, that's where LeBron, he grew up at. Going back to the Duke one, because I know everybody's running to the comment section and say, well, Matt, if he couldn't even start at USC, why in the world would you think he's even going to consider going to Duke? And I understand that argument, but here's my rebuttal. You got to understand the circumstance at Duke next year before you even rule out, oh, why would Bronny go there because he's not going to start? They are getting the #1 player in the nation in Cooper Flagg. To go on top of that, unless Jeremy Roach comes back for his 8th year, I'm pretty sure they're losing him, and more than likely they're going to lose Jerry McCain to the NBA draft. I'd be shocked if Jerry McCain winds up coming back just due to the fact he's not going to improve his draft stock anymore. It's as high as it's going to get. And the way Bronny plays, he would fit in perfectly with that Duke offensive system, especially at Cooper Flagg. Just get Cooper Flagg the ball and get out of the way, and that's what Bronny's good at. Bronny wouldn't be a guy that would be taking away shots from Flagg and getting in his way. That wouldn't happen. And I don't just think it'd be an okay fit at Duke next year. I think it'd be a great fit because it's a recipe for success. Bronny would know his role on the team. He wouldn't be confused. He's there to get Cooper Flagg the ball, hit a couple of threes, wide open threes, spot up threes per game, and play lockdown defense. And whenever he gets to the NBA, that's going to be his role there, so it'd almost be a good season to groom him at Duke for that. Of course, though, everything I just said, that's best case scenario. It's not just quite as simple as, oh yeah, you're going to transfer to Duke and immediately become the starting point guard or starting shooting guard. No. You got to put in the work. But any true competitor knows this. Iron sharpens iron. I don't think Bronny's the type of guy to shy away from competition, especially with LeBron James being in his corner. I may come back to the Duke scenario later in this video, but let's talk about Ohio State. The Ohio State one's really interesting because there is that tie connection there, whatever you want to call it, and they're not as talented as a Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, the Blue Bloods, etc., etc. So what that means is, and you know where I'm about to go with this, it's less of your 4- and 5-star recruits, less competition, and that equates to more of an opportunity to start and play right away. However, with that being said, I know that sounds all fine and dandy, it goes back to what I just stated. Iron sharpens iron. When you play at Duke with a guy like Cooper Flagg is so great, he's going to make Bronny better. Whereas if you go to an Ohio State that's not as good as Duke and you don't have a Cooper Flagg, Bronny James, he might not look as good. You see what I'm saying? He may have to make some plays and do some things that he's not necessarily comfortable with, and therefore it's going to equate to some bad performances here and there. And also, too, you got to throw in there, Ohio State just got done firing a head coach, but when they had the interim head coach, hey, they was going off. So I think that program, I wouldn't say they're in good shape, but they're in decent shape. There's not great stability at Ohio State currently, but here's what it comes down to. What does Bronny and LeBron James want? And the reason I throw LeBron James in there is because it's his father. Of course, he's going to have an impact on his decision. And to tell you the truth, and I know I've stated in this video, but I'm going to say it again, I'm still somewhat shocked he's leaving USC. And I'm trying to think, if he were to stay in the state of California, I guess your options would be schools like UCLA, California University, maybe some other schools here and there, but those would be the two that come to my mind first. And I've also seen a lot of people stating stuff like this. Let me show you this comment. If he wants to shine, he needs to go to a mid-major. He isn't a big school player. I understand what this person's saying in this comment, but when you think about it, when has Bronny ever shined at any level, dating back to high school. He's always been on a really good team where he most definitely has not even been close to the second option on the team. And that's never been Bronny's play style to take over a game. So no, I don't think he's going to go to a mid-major or go to a lower tier D1 team so he can be quote unquote the guy or the star player. Bronny is a good kid, outstanding young man, and as humble as they get considering he's in the position he's in. But the one thing he lacks, and you can chalk it up to the environment he's grown up in because he's had it made ever since he was born, is that dog-like mentality LeBron had when he was coming up. And let me give you some context here before I even say this next statement. If you've been following the channel ever since we've been making videos, you know this. I'm not a LeBron James fan. Currently in my office, I have 2 Kobe Bryant jerseys I'm looking at and 2 Michael Jordan jerseys. I'm a Kobe and Michael Jordan guy. More so of a Kobe guy because Jordan was a little before my time, so Kobe was really my GOAT when I was growing up. And the reason I share that with you is so you understand just how much respect I have for LeBron James and his greatness. Like I was saying though, people say that LeBron doesn't have that killer mentality like Jordan and Kobe. Go back and watch him in middle school and high school in his early Cleveland Cavaliers days. That man was a cold-blooded killer. Granted, I'll tell you right now, it wasn't to the level of Jordan and Kobe. It wasn't, but to say that LeBron wasn't a killer and he didn't have that dog-like mentality, that's ridiculous. And I think a reason LeBron had that mentality growing up like many others is because it's basketball or nothing. If he doesn't make it to the league, he's going to be poor. Whereas Bronny, he's a smart guy. He understands, hey, if I don't want to play basketball or if it doesn't work out, I'm still going to be a billionaire. Or not technically a billionaire, but he'll have hundreds of millions of dollars waiting on him for his inheritance from LeBron. Bronny's in I'm not going to say a tough position because it's not tough. Tough is working construction 14 hours a day, but he's in a weird position. And I've always believed ever since I was a kid that sports, basketball, football, whatever sport you play, it's more than a game. The things you learn and the things you do in sports, they carry over to your real life. So that's why I believe that. And ironically enough, LeBron James actually has that movie dating back to his high school days called More Than a Game. And for LeBron, I hate to be cliche and corny here, but basketball, it was more than a game. It was life for him. But for Bronny, it's just a game. Outside of Duke and USC, though, I have no idea where he would even be considering. And we don't know anything because this news just came out yesterday or late last night. It's going to be interesting, though, that's for sure. And, oh, yeah, I've seen some people throw out, oh, yeah, what about Kentucky? And, are you kidding me? That'd be the last place Bronny James would wind up going just due to all the, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not stress, but tension surrounding that Kentucky basketball program. You already got fans pissed off that John Calipari's coming back in the first place. Can you imagine all the pressure that's going to be on every single player to perform next year? There's been a lot of pressure on in the past 3 or 4 years, but next year, it's going to be insurmountable. Bronny is not going to be playing at Kentucky next year. You can mark it down. That won't happen. I've also seen some people throw out that he might potentially wind up at DeQuoin. I think that's how you say that school's name because that's where Drew Joyce, LeBron's friend, is currently at coaching. That could be a sleeper to pay attention to, but I would say my top schools for Bronny right now would be Ohio State or Duke. I don't see him remaining in the Pac-12. That wouldn't make too much sense because if you were going to go to another Pac-12 school, well, why wouldn't you stay at USC? Don't see him going to the Big 12. I don't see any scenario where he goes to the SEC. So Duke and Ohio State, that's where we're at or where I'm at. I'm rooting for him, wishing him the best of luck, and I like Bronny. I don't see how anyone couldn't like this guy because, like I've stated, he's such a humble young man. Don't get me wrong, I like watching your cocky and arrogant players because they're entertaining and you never know what they're going to do next, but there's something about a humble athlete that it'll always be number one for me. Can't wait to see what he does next. I'm sure we possibly will talk about it. Let me know your thoughts and everything we talk about down below, but roll with it!